Oh, good. Got it. Okay. Super.
All right, welcome everybody. This is our second January DAC meeting. Erin is going to share her screen and do a chat icebreaker. Our agenda tonight is to do that. That's a good question. I think I've got a good one. We'll see. I've got some slides to address the member feedback that we got 2 weeks ago. For those who can't attend tonight, hopefully the recording is available, and then I will distribute the slide deck as well. There's quite a bit of information in there that I think should get out. After that, we're going to jump into some school accountability committee work. We're really kicking off that effort this year and into future years, and then we will wrap up. Because I struggle to do two things at the same time, I'm just going to verbally give you my binge-worthy item. We are watching the new season of Ozark. We are 6 of 7 episodes in, and I can't get enough of that show. It's so good. Erin, when you're ready, I will go ahead and start sharing my screen.
Well, I'll tell you what, everybody got your prompt, and then I'll also drop it in the chat. Although with Zoom, it's always tricky because you show up, you can't see what people said before. So we'll just catch people if they come in. Hopefully everybody walks away with a whole new, month's worth maybe of entertainment, since, this whole Omicron thing is keeping us all probably a little more homebound than we'd care to be. All right. And with that, I think, Jack, let's get to it.
Oh, looks like Ozark's popular. Can you stop sharing, please?
Oh, sorry. Didn't realize I was being so bossy. There we go.
That is the one. Are you seeing the DAC meeting agenda, folks? Nope, not yet. There you go. All right, so that is our agenda. We're going to address the member feedback. Last meeting, we got some much needed feedback for those who were in attendance and offered that. Erin and I are grateful. It was Erin's idea to have a mid-year check-in with the group, and there were some messages that we really needed to hear. And so we appreciated that. The Jamboard notes, I went through and kind of assimilated those into 5 questions. They were sort of all in the same theme of questions. So we're going to hit those one by one tonight. One of the questions that came up is, what is the DAC's purpose and mission? There's really 4 areas, and I'm going to hit these quickly. These slides came from the kickoff meeting back in August or September. So they'll be available again after this meeting. But there's a state purpose, there's a board vision for the DAC, there's Adams 12 leadership that has its vision, and then Erin and I, as the DAC leadership, we have ours. The questions that were asked in the feedback, this is one of the areas that's a bit convicting for Erin and I guess I'll speak for myself. These questions most likely would be avoided if we had the recruiting and onboarding process that we're working toward as a committee. It's one of the areas that we're just simply understaffed from a leadership standpoint. And we are on our list of things to do is to recruit talent in the area of recruiting, onboarding, and training, because that is really important for our newest members. So at the highest level, the state level, why we exist, it's statute. Every school district has to have a district accountability committee. We recommend, that's a common theme, we recommend priorities for spending, recommendations around the Unified Improvement Plan, the UIP. We make recommendations on new charter applications or charter school renewals. And then we also support family engagement through a variety of items that are listed there. Again, I kind of want to move quickly through these slides to get to our SAC work. I've asked Aaron to keep an eye if anyone has questions or physically raises a hand so we can address those, but feel free to pop in. At the board level, so the Adams 12 Board of Education, there's some excerpts from their core beliefs. And the specific areas that I want to call out are in the blue boxes now. It's parents and community engagement and operating with honesty and transparency. We are parents and we are community, and then the transparency is supported by the collaboration in our work with district leadership and the board directly. If we move down a level to the district leadership, again, it's parental engagement and community partnerships. The district vision from the policy number that's referenced there specifically calls out the school and district accountability committees. So again, this group convenes to engage parents and community members across the district. And we've seen that in the 5 or so years that I've been involved. The district really does want us involved, providing feedback on various topics in addition to the 3 focus areas that we spend our time on for this year with the school accountability committees. Then beyond the board, Aaron and my vision for DAC while we're in office really focuses on the 2 orange boxes in the context of the question, why do we exist? So we want a DAC that provides opportunities for members to learn and then contribute. That's a bit of a balancing act because we talk about being subject matter experts, but we definitely want the opportunity to learn and the opportunity to contribute back in meaningful ways with the district and the board. We also want to have outreach and engage the community. Again, when we are fully staffed, we would have a communications position that would eventually handle social media and a web page for the DAC that would be an outreach, it'd be a conduit of information out and back. That was the first question about why we exist. Are there any questions or comments before I move on?
Jack, I do just want to give you a heads up. I am getting some communications coming through that folks are having some difficulty. So I'm going to try and send out a communication real quickly while we kind of tend to this. That's okay.
No problem. The other comments kind of rolled up into what is my role as a member outside of DAC. And the direct answer, the black and white answer I would offer is that there's no formal external role expected as part of your membership. You are here to bring your perspective from whatever community or parent or staff member perspective you have, bring those ideas and questions, and then help us to draft recommendations in those areas. However, the informal role is, again, that conduit of information. So with regards to your specific sphere of influence, whether you're a principal, a teacher, a parent interacting with other parents, just about your daily life, we would hope that you would share the news and information that you're learning and working on in the DAC to broaden awareness within the community. It's what I do in my men's breakfast club, in my friend group, just casual conversations when it comes up. You get to work as a DAC member, you get to work with district leaders, the cabinet specifically, and board members as well, which isn't common in the school district. It's sort of a rare occurrence to cross paths with these people. And so to be able to learn from them and then offer your perspectives and feedback is a pretty valuable tool. And again, in my experience, the district and the board members have been not only open to receiving that, but ask for it. And that's really good. It's really good to see. It's been a good experience for me. We also get presentations and reports that the general community either doesn't have dropped in their email box or isn't privy to getting. And so some of those things are Susie's early financial projections, what's happening down at the state. This is information that you get as a DAC member that you are free to relate to the rest of the community. And the hope there is that we broaden community interest in the school district for more involvement. So the third question really could be summed up is what's happening with subcommittee work? And this is really the one that was most convicting for me. I feel like we fell short here. We didn't connect the dots effectively between asking this group for focus area ranking at the beginning of the year and then actually connecting it to the work that we're doing this year or the work that's on hold. And so I can appreciate that that has been either confusing or simply a question mark of where we're going. So what I would add is that the whole DAC broad exposure of our work was a request of previous DAC members. There was an appetite to see all of the work that we do rather than kind of working in a silo within each subcommittee. And that's what happened in the first 2 years. We really had no idea. I was in spending priorities, and we had no idea what UIP and charter were doing week to week or month to month. One, because we didn't meet frequently enough, and two, we didn't have a structure in place to communicate that back and forth. And so there really was this void of information, and Aaron and I worked to change the model of DAC so that all members had an exposure to all the work. Reducing subject matter expertise was also a major request from previous member surveys, I should say. The learning was valued, but the general consensus was the DAC members weren't qualified to make some of the judgments that were sort of, I guess, expected as part of the work. And there was limited or rapid exposure to those concepts. And so again, the idea of being a member of only one subcommittee is broadened to have the learning across all of the work that we do. What we will do is make more of an effort to call out opportunities when specific work area needs arise. And so if you had charter as your primary focus, we will begin to tap you to do some extra work outside of the meetings like you would have done in previous years. Some of that's happening now, and we have a couple of members who have attended meetings outside of DAC with Marianne and Priscilla so that we can map out what we're doing with regards to charter this year. That's all behind the scenes, but we can and will do a better job of pointing those opportunities out. And then finally, we're on a bit of a hiatus from typical subcommittee work last year and this year. We're really focused on special projects that have been assigned or requested by the board that we're doing now. And the end of this year into summer and next year, we fully anticipate restarting the traditional subcommittee work. And so those of you that are new, you're in a bit of a limbo period, if you will, and I've got a slide a little deeper in that I can hit that. I think I just hit all of those, actually. You have 2021 and this current year project focused without the traditional work. So what that means is we need to be adaptable. Adaptability, if you will. I created a word this week. If we use a Venn diagram, we have a new DAC work model, the blue circle. It's again that all-inclusive model We're including work memos that we write in conjunction with the board and district staff so that we're clear about the intentions, the deliverables, the timeline, all of that. And that was new in the 1920 school year, and we're in progress now, but it's with special project work. So this group, this committee hasn't seen that process through typical DAC work, and that will restart later this year. We also had COVID impacts, so our statutory work was paused. That's spending, that's charter. There's a delay with a renewal, so that won't happen until next fall. UIP, the timeline changed, and we weren't assembled last summer to participate in that the way that we would have liked. And so all of the traditional work areas are paused, and the special projects that we're working on now are to capitalize on that downtime. We have a lot of things that we wanted to do anyway, and revamping how we attack charter renewals and new applications and the simplification of the UIP. Those are two examples of the special projects that we were assigned that we've been working on for about a year and a half. And then the DAC structure itself, we've had some district and Board of Education turnover. The election was last year. We have 2 new members. We've had some turnover at the district. And frankly, we have a lack of staffing within our own committee at the DAC level. And it's contributing to a less than ideal experience. And congratulations, this group is right in the middle of it all this year. So we are asking for some patience. We believe we're delivering a pretty good program, all things considered, and trying to improve the DAC experience each year that Aaron and I are in the driver's seat. The next question, what is the timeline and schedule of DAC? This is a slide from the beginning of the year. It was our estimation of the work. It's from June to May. Each of the primary focus areas, UIP, spending priorities, and charter. And then really the new one, which is mandated by the state that we do, but have not previously, we're starting this year, School Accountability Committee outreach. We're largely on track. We had estimated that we would have 4 different board presentations. Those are the green dots on the chart. And really what happened is UIP is going to slide out into February. We're going to run a month longer than we had hoped. Spending priorities is largely going to be educational for these meetings, but we are currently working with the board to map out the work memo. We are shifting to a 2-year work model for spending so that we are really having some impact on 2 school year budgets out, because by the time we get into the school year, it's largely determined and there's not a lot of recommendations that we can offer as a group. So that's still a big work in progress for us. Charter is also going to slide out at least a month. That's just the reality of the way that the work's going, but I like where Marianne and our leadership team are going with that. And we think we'll have a much better experience for our committee. The other thing is that it looks like we're going to have a single presentation date in May, at the end of May, on the 25th. I think we're still trying to confirm that, but that's what the indications are now, and we will likely present on all of the focus areas at that time. Just know that we are looking for volunteers from all of the interested groups to help present that night. I would also encourage you to notice June, July, and August are on this calendar, and that is the intention moving forward, mostly for UIP. With that October deadline, we will need to be involved in the summer months. We don't know what that looks like yet, but we'll be working with Dave to map that out before this school year is over. And then we take the summer to really focus on the DAC administrative effort, recruiting those positions, hopefully onboarding our new team members, and just getting the housekeeping done with all the documents that we have and the planning. So we are going to a full year model. It's already been happening with Aaron and I anyway, just not officially with the whole group. The last one was also convicting, the last question. Where is the follow through of the DAC's work and the feedback loop? I'll be honest, Aaron and I meet every single week of the year, whether it's a meeting like this or a planning session on the off weeks, and then additional meetings with district leadership. I am not complaining. It is what I signed up for. But when I'm in that loop, when I'm in that work, it's easy to lose sight of what people in the rest of the DAC committee see or don't see by not attending those meetings. And at the board level, the cycle is long. We do our work throughout the year. And then in May, like we'll complete some of these projects, but we won't present until May. That'll be the official transmission, if you will, of the deliverables. And then we wait to get the feedback, that closure loop of how they use that information. And that hasn't existed in previous years. Next week, Aaron and I are meeting with the board in a work session, and that is one of the topics that we want to hit, to have a bit of a process around getting that feedback. So here is the recommendation on spending. Here is our proposal for UIP simplification. How did you use it? What areas did you agree with? What is the priority within the district for the work that we've done, so that we can come back to our members and deliver that same message so that we can close that loop. The reason for saying all of this is that it is drawn out. It could be a year to get that full cycle back to DAC members. So if we look at what that could be, we start with the blue arrow, which is the board vision and the work memo for what we're going to do this year. We leave the door open that it can change from year to year. And so we can adapt to what the board and the district need each year within the context of each of those work areas. UIP may be different next year than it was this year. We align with district efforts and we actually do the work. That would be the orange arrow. That's the majority of these meetings throughout the year. Then we will make the reports, slide decks, we'll present to the board at one of their meetings, and we'll make our official recommendations. And that's in alignment with the statute and our bylaws. That's what we are here to do. And then that yellow arrow is that new area that we want to meet with the board about next week, which is what did we learn? What value did we add? How can we improve the process for all parties next year? And then we repeat the process. And again, that could be a full year. Any questions on that? So another area of feedback where we can improve and we will provide a slide like this beginning tonight. At every DAC meeting, we realize there's variances in attendance. You have lives, you have other commitments, and if you miss a week, you miss a lot. And so what we will do is update the group at a high level, very briefly, for all of the work areas that we are spending our time in, plus administration or DAC leadership, those needs that we have. And so, Aaron, this is your 2-minute warning that I'm about done. And our first snapshot for January 26th, I'm going to run through UIP first. The typical DAC work that many of you might have signed up for is suspended due to the new due date, which has already passed. That was due last October. And we're also spending our time on the board simplification effort project that will be over this year. That effort could extend in a different manner in future years, but we expect to be done with that order, if you will, this year. Our deliverable is going to be in written form, as well as a slide deck that we deliver at one of the board meetings. Lynn, one of our members, has graciously agreed to add some graphic design and formatting to that, and it is in her hands now. We hope to have that done for the whole group to review and give a nod to in February, latest at March. And we will turn that report in, Dave, ahead of May 25th, but we will do the formal presentation in May. And then we expect the regular typical DAC work on UIP to begin May and June through the summer with Dave and his team. So the charter subcommittee, the charter focus, due to the delay of the New America renewal, waiting until next year, we're working on a new charter process to use in future years. We have joked about the 4-inch thick 3-ring binder of information that members had to read through and become subject matter experts. And we're working to make that a much more friendly experience for DAC members, while also delivering some value to the charters and the board, most likely to include site visits to those schools, so field trips. We've met a couple of times to kind of iron out a framework document, and Mary Ann at the district has been carrying the majority of that load, and we are planning to hit that again at our February 9th meeting. That will be the biggest chunk of our work. So that's when you'll see charter work again. And then the typical DAC work will commence this fall, 8 or 9 months from now, when the New America renewal is up, and that will get started. Moving on to spending priorities. COVID, combined with us shifting to a 2-year work cycle, really halted the spending work. The budget is what it was, and we just kind of agreed with district leadership that we would take a break from that, let COVID and all of the funding issues that are around that settle. We did receive Susie's update last meeting, and we are working with the board to get the direction on where spending priorities will go. We will hit that at the work session as well next week, and we hope to get you a work memo in May that lines us out for what we'll do over the next 2 years with regards to spending priorities. SAC work, this is new. We have not focused on that to date according to statute. But this is one of the special projects from the board where we wanted to do an outreach last year and expand on that this year. That is in progress. We completed that survey in the spring of 2021. So about a year ago, we are focusing on it tonight. That is our next stage in the SAC work. Our deliverable this year is the plan to begin the statutory work for 22 and 23. So we will come to the board in May outlining our intentions for future years, hopefully with an approval, and we can get rolling next year. And then finally, DAC administration or other projects as appropriate. We still have a Secretary of Communications role that is vacant. That is an elected position. We will have official elections later this year, but we will take volunteers. The board will approve a volunteer if anyone would like to step up. There's also an appointed position for each of those focus areas. So there's 4 positions that we're looking to recruit before the next school year. And it's someone who has an interest in those focus areas that can sort of run point and be able to attend those staff meetings that are off the regular DAC schedule. So if you're looking for a way to be more involved in the area that you chose, this would be it. And Aaron and I will work to fill those next year. We believe we really need a membership committee. That would be a group of people who are recruiting, reviewing applicants and their applications, making phone calls where there may be some confusion around what the DAC is or what the ask is of membership. So we will work to get those filled. Again, we need co-presenters for the May 25th board presentations. And then there's a variety of never-ending task and project work. So if you are better taking a one-off project, one and done kind of a thing, we need to get our website up and running with the district. We have a document library that is in great need of organization. There are meeting materials that need to be posted after each meeting, sometimes in advance, and then the list goes on and on and on. Please don't make us twist your arms. If you have a desire to serve, again, even for a week, we will take it and assign special work. But those are our needs. That's what the DAC snapshot is for this meeting. And again, this will be presented and updated every other week for this group. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And turn it over to Erin in a minute. Are there any questions or comments about that? There was a lot of talking at you, but we felt it was important to address that feedback from the previous meeting.
I was gonna say, let's take a minute to process all that, shall we? So again, as Jack said, hopefully one thing you're hearing is some responsiveness. I just want to give folks a chance. One, like, what would, if you would do me a favor in the chat, what was the most helpful thing that you heard? And we recognize we had some technical difficulties with folks. So again, no judgment, just wherever you picked up. What was something that was helpful to hear? And based on the conversation, or again, even if you weren't in attendance at the last meeting, are there other things that are still lingering for you? So that would be a helpful, like, plus delta for us to hear. Just what was helpful? Take a minute. Put it in the chat, please.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for these comments.
Great. All right. Now we probably have a couple lingering folks yet. Do you want to share, again, some slides to kind of walk through the remainder of our evening, sort of the work focus of our time tonight? So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get my screen teed up. What we're looking at for tonight, again, we realize that this has been a pretty big information download to start. So kind of want to start with getting your thoughts out there and really think about the connection between school accountabilities and district accountability committee. So we're going to do a breakout, give everybody a chance to get their head in the game. And with that, oh, that was our breakout, or our icebreaker. What are the connections, benefits, and opportunities between the DAC and school accountability committees? I recognize we have some information we're going to be pulling in, but do recognize that we have some folks joining us this year that have new perspectives, that don't that have some ideas that weren't building out of work from last year. And so I just want to give everybody some processing time. Jean has set us up in 3 different breakouts. And for that, we do have a Jam board so that we can leverage ideas that folks have around this. So with that, I'm going to quickly, too many screens here. I'm going to stop sharing, share the Jamboard, and give folks some think time. So get your thinking brain started, please. Make sure that everybody's getting this. All right, there's your Jamboard. And again, if you're in group 1, you'll be on slide 1. If you're in group 2, you'll be in slide 2. Hopefully everybody's getting in. Uh-oh, seeing some permission challenges. Hold on. Dang it.
Aaron, I think I just updated that.
That'd be good because I'm getting an error that I'm not allowed to make changes. Apparently that's our theme tonight is Tech Challenge Wednesday.
I've seen a whole lot of people
and a whole lot of people jump in. There we go. Okay.
Aaron, how long do you want the breakout?
Let's go for 8 minutes. And again, individual thinking time, and please discuss with your groups. Get that conversation going.
Jean, we are ready.
Okay. Do we have everybody back? Nope. Oh no. Okay, guys. Well, I can see group 1 jump to the next activity. So we'll be fine. It will all be good. Let's see. And we still have one group. It looks like maybe that's wrapping up. Nope. That's everybody. Okay. All right. What I might ask is a representative, group 1 jumped ahead on the homework. Would you mind maybe just sharing like one thing that stood out from your conversation?
Stephanie, can I put you on the spot?
Sure, my computer's not working well. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm just going to go off the top of my head.
That's great.
I guess we actually did a little bit of both now that I see, now that I looked back at it. But connections we were making, I guess one of the connections I was making is really trying to understand what the school accountability, what they're doing in the schools, and how that connects to what we're doing at the district. And then also how well do they understand what the district accountability committee is doing as well. That information, and then also the connection of why are they on SAC? How did they get there? And what are some of the conversations? What is the work that they're doing? Which would be interesting for us as a DAC. And then to compare that across schools. Anything else from my team? But those were some of the thoughts.
That's great. And I see, Laura, you mentioned that there were some sticky note challenges. Man, we definitely have a theme tonight. So I'm hoping, I'm looking to maybe Priscilla and Jack that in those cases where we have sticky note challenges, hopefully somebody's doing some good note taking so we can get this information. Thank you. I'm gonna look to my group 2. What would you say was something, I might put Jamie a little bit on the spot, something that maybe stood out from our conversation?
Yeah, it really felt a lot about that relationship piece as it relates to how do we build those relationships to be able to have information sharing, to have development of folks that can serve in other spaces, right? You've served on the SAC, now here, this opportunity for the DAC or one of the other committees. So really a pipeline. And then focus on representation. How do we get information that's really broad, sweeping, that potentially could be tapped into relatively quickly when information is needed and there's not, not a ton of time to do really broad survey work, or at some point also we're all, in that survey fatigue. So how do we capitalize on some folks that we could use quickly and easily?
Great, thank you. And I'm going to ask group 3 if you, again, just maybe share a highlight or two.
Sure, and we also made the mistake, we jumped to the second set of questions as well. So we were definitely a little challenged. We couldn't access sticky notes and we answered the wrong question, but we had a good conversation. Anybody from my team want to throw in?
You took the notes, Priscilla. Go for it. Thanks.
Okay. We really talked about, seeking to understand what meaningful participation really looks like from a parent perspective, finding out why they joined. Is there alignment between what they expected and want to do and what they're charged to do? Do we see trends and patterns between their experience at the school level and the experience of this group at the district level? And is there really clarity of purpose from a parent perspective in really what a SAC is supposed to do? Do they even have an awareness that there is a DAC? But we could engage in conversations around what does accountability really mean to these different groups, and what support they might need from the DAC and what they would want that to look like. And then really all the logistical pieces of, is your SAC up and running? How many people do you have on it? How often do you meet? What do you do? All of those things.
Great. Well, I'm going to say congrats to teams 1 and 3, or groups 1 and 3. You guys definitely win the cold call award because you didn't even get like the framing and the like all the background. So good work. So I think given that, what I'd like to do is a little bit of a back in, and then maybe revisit some of those topics. So with that, I'm going to share my screen again, and I just really want to, I think, acknowledge that there was a lot of information sent before this meeting. So no pressure. Can I just get maybe a quick show of hands? Like, how many folks were able to review that presentation before tonight? Couple. Okay. And then I know we've got a bunch of folks who are either on phones or off screen, so kind of difficult to tell. I think what I'd like to do, if this is okay, is drop that survey presentation back into the chat, and honestly just give folks, like, let's say 7 minutes to look at that, to review it, kind of dig in, see where you have questions. So just as framing, this was a survey that was sent to each administrator of each building in the district last February. And we asked them a series of questions about their school accountability, how things were functioning, sort of implications of COVID, because then based on that information, it will inform sort of, again, the work of this year and where we want to take the work as the DAC with school accountabilities now. So I'm going to drop this presentation, and I see lots of people in here, so that's a good sign. And I'm going to set a little timer and let folks take a, actually, yep, okay, right one. And permissions should be all set. So hopefully, one less thing to have to navigate. So let's take 7 minutes, dig in there, see what questions or clarifications you might have. All right, doing a check for folks. We seem to have some folks that are ready. If you are ready, could you give me a thumbs up? Got some folks still reading. Okay. I am going to watch time a little bit. So if you need some, again, additional digging in time, please continue. But would really like to start reviewing what does this mean for our work this year. In terms of the way that we're setting out our work is again through the board memo, and we have identified ways that we think this work can happen. Again, board vision for the work outlined. Thank you, board liaisons, for helping us establish this. And really kind of looking at that robust parent community involvement beyond just the minimum membership requirements to provide that value to district work. Big ideas in terms of how we can support this effort for this year is to continue the needs assessment work, to really engage school accountability committees to gather that parent community perspective and input. So again, that's the prompt on the Jamboard. And then really kind of looking at a sample based on that survey of average, high, and low self-assessed SAC functioning, and sort of how do we continue to see what those practices and again those opportunities for sharing and increased capacity, and then really identify what resources and training is needed next towards helping that SAC membership. So those were the areas that we identified. Again, really looking at the connections to our district guiding documents in terms of Elevate, and then then really looking at some of the policy foundations for this work. In terms of, again, big milestones, as Jack has identified, we're a smidge behind on a couple of our milestones, but then also really looking towards some of the deliverables. Might be a little bit ambitious for this year. So again, we're going to need to sort of do a reality check, but really looking at ensuring that whatever we do, we summarize and make recommendations for the next sequence of work, that we continue to dig into that needs assessment. And then I think really in terms of these last three bullets, identify priorities and opportunities about what we can address. So again, I realize there's a lot coming at folks. So we'll just want to do a quick pause and see if there's any questions or clarifications regarding the board memo and the task in front of us. All right, I'm not seeing.
I have a question, Erin.
Yeah.
So is there a board policy or a superintendent policy on the, I mean, I kind of saw it on the slide before about the creation of SACs, like what the makeup is, how the school goes about it. Like, is there a standard that a school cannot go below? They have to meet the standard of members, and they have to have so many meetings. I mean, what is the makeup that is Adams 12 standard?
So I think, again, what's identified here is really in state statute, but Dave and Priscilla, if I could put you a little bit on the spot to speak to some of the local expectations and practices.
The state accountability handbook is shared with every principal in the district as part of normal beginning of year processes. That specifies the minimum requirements that a SAC should have. The largest group needs to be parents. There is some flexibility allowed so long as parents are the greatest sized group. The biggest problem most schools have in terms of SAC, and it's been highlighted in some of those findings, is finding a non-parent community member. That's a significant challenge for most schools. And then in terms of the guidance that's in that state accountability handbook is that the group meet at least quarterly. So that is information shared with principals each year as they are, making up their SAC, soliciting input from the SAC and members. Every year, I believe, we moved it forward this year because typically it was the end of September. They would have to notify us of the membership of their SAC. They'd complete a Google form and say, here's who's on our SAC. And we have that information. We moved it up a bit this year just because UIPs were due earlier than in the past. So that's what I can share in terms of the composition and the number of meetings they must have. They have similar duties to the district, but somewhat less. The DAC has a few more responsibilities than a SAC would for a school.
And is it required like certified and non-certified, or certified and classified employees?
There's no stipulation for classified. It allows for certified folks to be on it. But what the requirement is if you have 3 parents, you cannot have 3 certified staff members. The parent group has to be the largest group.
Any other questions or clarifications?
I think the only thing that I would add is I think that our schools are very similar to our DAC, that there are times where you run into problems recruiting, filling positions, and they do the very best that they can with the parents and the staff members who are willing to participate.
Absolutely. And I think, Priscilla, in that vein, I think really what we're trying to identify is, again, not as we do not want to be, the fact checkers, again, that's probably not the best use of DAC membership and time. And so really, how do we, I think, again, go sort of above and beyond that statutory responsibility and say, how do we get our parent community, staff processes to really support our education system in the best possible way? And so again, have outlined what we hope is a logical sequence that will get us there. The first sort of component that we do want to acknowledge is that we have identified sort of a series based on the self-assessment that administrators completed last year that we would like to have representatives visit the school's accountability committee and again, do some observations, ask some questions. And so we're looking for folks to sign up to reach out to the school and get information about the meeting and again, attend as a participant. In terms of the, what you're looking for, you'll be given a protocol, with what are things you're looking for? This is not going to be an intense review, but again, just what things did we notice? They identified that they did some things well and were fairly high functioning. And yes, I will share. I'll be honest, I have 8 different windows open right now. So yes, give me just a second and I will get that spreadsheet open to have folks sign up. The commitment we're asking for is that there's a reach out to connect by Friday the 4th. So that's a week and a half. And again, it's just to inquire about the state and when meetings might be happening. So again, this is intended to be a supportive process to sort of again see, I'm going to use the expression boots on the ground. What does this look like to get more information? So that's going to be our first ask for folks.
Erin, do these schools 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 know that it's just for us to learn and gain information? And do they understand that we're not actually reviewing their processes and protocols?
That seems like an important part of the protocol.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you're saying that, which is great, but if they think we're there to watch them, review them, it's just a curiosity. If that's part of the conversation to have with the principal, that's perfectly fine. But I just was curious as to what the intention has been expressed to them. And if that is our job to express that when we contact them, then that's fine too. I just wanted to ask the question.
Absolutely. And with that, I'm going to say, Priscilla.
Yeah, I'd like to suggest that I do some outreach to these principals because they don't know this is coming. And in the midst of everything else that is going on, it will be one more thing for them, and they may not appreciate the outreach right now without a heads up.
Okay. That is Priscilla. And so again, we will be providing a protocol for folks to use in terms of what I hope expression hasn't been totally overused, but sort of guardrails, if you will, like what are things that we are looking for. And I think Priscilla will check with you about that communication. And I would ask maybe, are there red flags at this point that you would have concerns about?
I think we just have to be cognizant right now that our building principals are scrambling every day to support our teachers, knowing that we have classroom sub jobs that are unfilled, and that it's really kind of an all hands on deck approach right now. And so I think that we need to give the building principals a bit of a heads up and a bit of a runway. So I would appreciate seeing the protocol.
Absolutely.
And I am happy to reach out to the principals. And then I think that as we reach out to them, that we also need to give them a little bit of grace in being able to think about when they have their next meeting and what makes sense, that they have a little bit of choice in how this plays out.
And actually, Priscilla, I would even go a little bit further than grace. I would also say, like, this is not obligatory. If folks just don't want to participate, then that's great. Like I think really messaging that this is based on self-report information, and if things aren't working, then that's okay.
Yeah, that's part of what would be really helpful is they'll want to know how they were selected.
Yeah.
And we can tell them that they don't have to participate. But what I know about our principals is if they're contacted, they'll step up and they'll think that they need to. So
absolutely. So that's why
I think maybe it would be good for you and Jack and I just have a little bit more conversation about timing and really what we want to accomplish and how they were selected and that type of thing.
Okay, so let's do a quick scratch this by Friday. And we will identify the date by which we want that to happen. Again, one that is reasonable. We'll
Erin, I totally appreciate it, and thanks Priscilla for just kind of adding in that 2 cents. I know in my other life, day job, we scripted folks really just to call and say thank you to principals for something, for the work that we were doing, right? And scripted them, and I told them, I go, you will likely not actually talk to anyone. Like you will actually probably not get a call back, right? It was sort of just some of that set up for them to know, right? We were setting that up, but this definitely feels, a little bit more intense, especially if they don't have their meeting schedules or whatever. So that's why I wanted to ask, just in case, or to set it up just to say, we're trying to learn, like the DAC is trying to learn better how good work you do, because we're learning, right? It's that versus the we're coming to check you out kind of.
Yeah.
It's all the framing, the tone, right? Like, so, we're trying to steal your ideas that are good for our own work or something. Anyway, so that's why I raised it, just because wanted to make sure that the way we're doing this, unless we all have the same definition of accountability, because when they hear somebody from a district accountability team coming, it has, to me, would have a different kind of tone comparatively to like, I'm a parent and I'm trying to learn from other SACs or something, right? So that's kind of why. So thanks for letting me.
No, Tara, of course, that is, and again, I think really reinforcing the idea that, we just want to know the realities. It's not about judgment, but in terms of how we proceed in the development of things that are actually helpful, not just what we project is helpful, I think is really important. And I see Jessica has a question. Is it okay to attend the SAC meetings of your own schools? I would, I think sort of the question at the end of that is about conflict of interest. No, but I think similarly, the idea of, again, should not come across as a review or audit of any sort, but just, again, what, more information about what's happening. So more information to come for folks on that. In terms of sequencing, I think what I will do then is table this, Priscilla, until we're able to have that conversation, and then we will email the sign up back out to the whole group. Okay, great. And with that, we are quickly coming to the end of our time. I think next steps in terms of where we are headed is, again, continuing to dig into sort of that first prioritization level beyond the survey from last year. How might we use that information in next steps? How do we look at collecting information from SAC and parent members, not just the administrators of the building? We also want to get information from those that self-assess lower on the effectiveness of their SACs. But again, if the functioning is lower, it's harder to get information in the format that we are suggesting by observing a meeting, because in some cases, meetings may not be happening. In fact, I think that's a distinct possibility. And so again, wanting to find out how we can get some of those next level pieces of information that would inform our needs assessment and our next steps. Additionally, I hope, as Jack and I were describing around the sort of the work focus areas or subcommittees, thank you to those of you that responded for the prioritization request. And we will be reaching out to folks who identified the school accountability committees in their top prioritization to, again, kind of dig deeper and do some next level work related to the school accountability committees. So that's sort of the next sequencing of getting into the work of the SACs for this group. All right, that was a big report out. I would ask if there's any other questions. I'm looking particularly at folks who work as staff in the buildings, if there are questions or other areas of concern or considerations that you would have. Okay. In terms of Next steps, we will take the information from the jam boards for those folks who are able to dive into sort of our second round of questions. We'll dig into, again, the good notes that folks took during the conversation. One other item that is striking me, Jack, as we look forward to our February 9th DAC meeting, is format. So again, Priscilla will probably do that in consultation with you about in-person or Zoom format. So we'll be in touch on that. Any other logistical questions or considerations, Jack, Priscilla?
No, I think we've got time to figure out the next meeting location or format.
And we'll definitely make sure that any format and links that are needed are readily accessible. We know there was some challenges this evening.
Erin and Jack, I know there was some assistance you needed. I mean, I think that was a part of that update, those little arrows and those little sections. And so I don't know how if it's just open call here, which I think was on the last call. If you have, I think some of the things that you mentioned, Jack, there were a variety of different possibilities, right?
Yes.
Helping with the website or taking notes, or I have no idea. So there was a long list. in the world of spreadsheets, I'm just saying, I don't know how hard, I mean, I know how to do it, but if there are these very kind of specific tasks, right, that are needed, that either one person doesn't have the capacity to do all of them, but you're willing to sort of get help with other, pieces of it.
Probably, Jack, you called those the one-offs.
Yeah, whatever those pieces are, like, I think it may be useful, whether it's don't make this hard on yourself, just list it, and people can sign up and say, oh, I can do this, or I can take notes the next meeting, like whatever that might be. It doesn't have to be a pretty spreadsheet, and it could just be a column of stuff. As an opportunity, because then I think the ability for me to take on kind of the whole thing might be a little hard, but I'm happy to help and support in ways maybe that I haven't been able to, whatever. So I just want to offer that because I know it's been on the list at many of the meetings and both of you carried the load. So if you just have that list that you rattled off, that would be happy to. I know there's others that can probably do things here and there, right?
Yeah, we can get that out to the group, and I appreciate the request for a list. You can volunteer for a day, a week, a month, or a year, right? And we'll break them up into those categories,
right?
Because there's a lot of day or week tasks that could be done.
I definitely understand. I mean, I'm not a fan of paperwork in my actual job, so but you have to do it, right? So. But I know in many of these things, I'm happy to help. And it's because of the committee work has shifted. My energy, right, is different, and time given is different. So, send me a list, us a list. And, I think people can step up and be honest about what they can provide if they can't take on the whole secretary position or whatever positions that technically fall with all that stuff.
Thank you, Tara.
I hope that helps. And I'll pull some, I know a handful of people on this call, so I'll gear up a few people and be like, come on, we can do it. And we can do that.
All right, I appreciate that. We will get that out. Erin, is there anything else you have?
I think just a reminder, and we look forward to seeing you on the 9th, where we will be talking about charter renewal processes. And we will either see you in 2 or 3D.
There you go. Dave and Priscilla, can you hang on for a few minutes afterward? Thank you.
Thank you,
We're
everyone.
going to go ahead and adjourn. It was great to see you. Have a great rest of your evening.
Thanks for all the work. Bye.
Jean,